I'm the fuck out. I didn't even get started on what I was gonna say.
Oh, yeah.
Bro, that movie was crazy.
Crazy, Francie. Yeah.
What are the specials tonight?
That sounds good. I'll have that.
Hey everybody, Specialists in Nothing, back at you again, talking about everything, specializing in nothing. My name is Frank. As always, Joe and Danny, you guys want to say what's up?
What up? What up?
How you doing?
You haven't heard anything about the city yet, right?
No, all I know is that it's called quote unquote The Line.
So this shit is actually supposed to be really cool. I've seen a couple of different videos on this now. And yes, it's in Saudi Arabia. It's called The Line. And it's going to be a three-dimensional city inside of a transparent wall. So the wall,
Go ahead. Yeah.
it's supposed to go 200 meters wide, which is like almost 700 feet wide, like 650 feet wide. It's supposed to be 1,640 feet above sea level. And now just to put that in reference, the Empire State Building on the top of the tip was 1,454 feet. So it's like 200 feet taller than the Empire State Building. And it's like 200 meters wide, like I said. And I forget how long it is. I think it's like 40 miles long or something like that, 34 kilometers or something like that long. And supposedly it would take you a long time to walk the whole thing. But from their mode of transportation that they have, like they have these like sky lifts that take it from one side to the other, and you can go from one side to the other in like 20 minutes. So this place is supposed to be huge. It's supposed to house like 8 million people or something like that. It's
8
got,
million people.
because it has so much like the three-dimensional stuff, so like 700 feet wide, you're talking about just in width, you could have like 2 neighborhoods, you know what I mean, between apartments and a store and this and that, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
They're saying everything in the town is going to be stacked on top of each other because of the 3 dimension, and everything will be right near your apartment. So let's say you get an apartment in the center of the wall, everything right around in a circle of you that you're going to need to live everyday life will be right there. But if you wanted to go outside the wall or to your friend's house, it's not like they have transportation to get you like from one side of the wall to the other in like 20 minutes. So like you can go wherever, but everything is easily just accessible. Yeah.
So now does that mean that like, let's say this line, right? It's 200 meters. What are they gonna like divide up neighborhoods or towns every like 50
like,
meters?
it's in like 5 sections, and the 3 middle sections are like the suburbs. So like I'm guessing the middle is going to be like the richest, and then the 2 like center middle or whatever ones are going to be like suburbs, and then the outside ones will be like lower income. And they said that like on one side of the wall it's supposed to be ocean, on the other side of the wall it's supposed to be mountains. So like you have all aspects of nature once you leave the wall, like to go anywhere, like if you wanted to go somewhere, travel, or you want to go to the beach for a day or something like that, you could. It's still all accessible.
So this thing is going to be 200. All right, 200 meters is 219 yards. There's 120 yards in a football field. So this thing is only
no, that's 200 meters wide.
Oh, wide.
That's
so it's
wide in the wall. So from one side of the wall to the other. Now we're talking in length of how long the wall is going to be.
Got you.
I forget how long. I got to look it up.
So this is a pretty cool concept. My question to you is, what do you think this wall is going to be made of? Because I'm assuming like
170 kilometers long. So it's like 110 miles long.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it's gonna be really long. But
it's like a revolution in civilization, though.
It looks like glass almost. Like it's like a transparent like mirror. So I don't know if it's gonna be like, because some skyscrapers just have like really, really thick panes of glass. Like I don't know if it's gonna be something like that or something else. That I'm not sure of. But to me, what's interesting about it is they put it when one of the videos I saw, they compared it to Manhattan. And now, like, we've all seen Manhattan, you have the shape of the island, and everything is just buildings around every single square inch of that fucking island.
Everything is occupied. There's no free
green
space.
except for Central Park. You know what I mean? There's literally no green on Manhattan. So they showed the line as if it would be on Manhattan, and it was like through the whole center of the island where the line would be, and
Right.
then everything else around it was all green, and then water around that, obviously, because it's an island. And it was just crazy to think about, because if we had some type of thought or technology like this beforehand, it like there's no cars in this city. There's no emissions of stuff like that for the air pollution. Like it's just a lot more greener in a sense for things like that. And it does look very efficient. It really does. And this is one of 3 projects that Saudi Arabia is doing right now. They have 2 other projects they're doing for like similar things for other town research. So it's crazy. I mean, if you think about, look at Dubai 40 years ago to how they went now. It was a desert, and now it's like a full fucking, and I mean a full big city. Like it can be done, you know what I mean? It can be done in this lifetime, and I think it'd be cool to see.
Who do you think's gonna clean the outside of this wall? Because it's gonna be reflective, I assume.
I'm sure they'll have workers to do things like that. They have it now for skyscrapers and stuff like that. I'm sure that they're going to have something. If they're putting it into production, I'm sure there's going to be some type of plan for that, whatever it is.
What I think is really cool though is that based on the videos that I saw too, there's like a whole garden along the whole top of this thing. So they're going to be growing their own food. And it's weird because in a sense, it's like they're removing themselves from civilization to start a civilization, you know, because if you don't leave that thing, all right, what are the laws going to be like? What are the rules? Is there going to be a ruler? How are they going to get their imports and exports?
Well, it's in Saudi Arabia, so I'm sure it's going to be depending on however the rules are there. You know what I mean? Like if it was in America somewhere, I'm sure it would be based on how our laws here and stuff like that. So I'm sure that that's, you know, depending on, I don't think it'll be just like inside the wall will be its own government or its own like laws. You know what I mean?
Why not? Let's say that thing's locked down and there's a fucking world war going on.
Well, see, that's what I was going to say to you. Now, this is what I wanted to bring it up to try and change that question a little bit is, how do we know that this isn't a plan to just get 8 million people in a place where you can easily just fucking lock them down when you want to? You know what I mean? Like easily, like what's that movie that we talked about with Joe back in the day when they fucking locked them down in the building?
The Belkin experiment.
The Belkin experiment. What if it's something like that? You know what I mean? Like where, okay, something happens now and they're like, no, you guys are in danger. We can't let you out. And they just lock down the fucking wall and lock down all the fucking things inside or whatever. Like,
is there going to be a hospital in there? Like what's going on? Where they get all their shit?
There's supposed to be hospitals. Like everything you would need in a city is going to be inside this city.
So I think it's pretty cool because the idea and concept of it is very futuristic, how everything is going to be built up instead of out. So they will be utilizing less land. So now let's say this one thing that's 2 football fields wide and how many, like 110 miles long. If they just keep making lines throughout the land, they could just build upwards, which I think we should have been doing by now at this point, but it's super futuristic. There's a lot of these movies, real quick, there's a lot of these movies that they depict like futuristic stuff and it's like rundown trailers and stuff, but they're all built on top of each other. I think this is definitely the beginning of it. And
could be.
I feel like in movies like that, shit has always gone so wrong. So they all like transition to quote unquote the line and like for refuge and shit like that. Like this is where they live now. And like the world outside is so fucked. That's just what the movies, you know, predetermine.
Well, yeah, I mean, think about it. Like people that move in could end up like 40 to 50 years later being like Wally.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it could be something like
I think
that.
that's something that's going to happen not relatively soon, but like
in the next 100 years or so.
Yeah. If and when that we have space travel, we create like space cruises and shit like that. I guarantee you something like that.
I think once we get hovers. Once we actually get like hovercrafts or hoverboards or hover, like
I don't know. I feel like that's still gonna stay on
chairs and stuff like that. Yeah, I know, but I'm saying that's just I'm talking about Wally in the sense of like where they're all sitting in their chairs going around like that, like because America is very lazy and the world is getting very lazy in general as time has gone on. I mean, we're more reliant on technology, we're more reliant on things. So yeah, it's just common nature to get more lazy. So I feel like that, like in the next 100 years, like that kind of sense of Wally, where like not maybe in chairs permanently, but like where everybody's going to be so lazy and there's going to be more things that are invented to make things easier for us to make us naturally lazier. I forgot what I was going to say before now. I was going to make another quick point, but I forgot what you said and what I was going to say.
So they're supposed to be starting this in 2030, right?
Mhm.
So how long do you think this is going to take to build?
Well, like I said, they built Dubai in what, 40 years? If you look at like 1980 to like now, Dubai was like desert in 1980, literally like no buildings. There
And
was, like,
most of it
5
still
buildings.
is. They just have a very successful city.
Not even, because you can see how deep that city is. Like when I look at Vegas, right? Most people are like, oh, but it's like the strip. It's really not just the strip. There's Henderson and Green Valley.
Yeah, it
and
goes a lot
there's
further
like
out.
8 different towns that are around it, and or city, mini cities, whatever you want to call them. And a lot of that desert is filled in, and that took a long time. A lot longer than it took in Dubai. If you look at a picture from like 1980, there's like 5 buildings,
Yeah.
maybe, and like a couple highways. Now it looks like Vegas now in 40 years. So that's what's crazy to me, is how much they built, how deep into the desert they built the town, not just the fucking city of like all the skyscrapers and shit. So if they could do that in 40 years in a desert out there, I don't see why they can't build this wall in like 40 years, less than 50 years.
I'd say less than that, if you think about it. I'll give it 30 years tops.
I could see that.
Because if they're doing this now,
But see, this
and
is a
they're
new construction that we've never done before. So 30 years, but you could have hiccups along the way. There
of
could be
course you're gonna
things
have
that like,
hiccups, yeah.
you know what I mean? So things that take longer because it's the first thing that it's ever been built like that. So that's why I say like it could be extra time. I say less than 50 years.
You know what I was gonna say, because now I'm thinking about it. You're gonna have to grow nature on the inside of this line. So there's gonna
Yeah.
have like
Oh yeah, it's not going to be
unparalleled
livable right
access to
away.
nature. Yeah, they're gonna have a bunch of trees, bushes, waterfalls, stuff like that.
Well, it's going to be
You
their own
clean air for
ecosystem.
everybody. Yeah,
You know, like just think of like Biodome back in the day.
perfect like year-round climate.
Well, it
It's
says so.
temperature and stuff.
No roads, cars, or emissions. It'll run 100% on renewable energy. 95% of the land will be preserved for nature. People's health and well-being will be prioritized over transportation and infrastructure, unlike traditional cities. That's huge. Like that is like the first city of its kind.
That is pretty cool. I like that.
When you talking about, they're talking about health and well-being, meaning that food and healthcare is going to be prioritized over transportation and infrastructure, because they're not going to need new infrastructure. You're not going to need to build new buildings and stuff. Everything is already going to be in this wall. The only things that they're going to need to build is things that they're going to have to fix or maintenance or whatever, things that like break or have to be replaced or stuff like that.
Okay,
But-
so here's, go ahead. I got a question for you.
Go ahead. What?
If they're not going to need to build new infrastructure or buildings, everyone's going to be living there. How many people you think could live there? Just randomly off the top of your head.
Well, I have the thing open. It says 9 million. It can fit 9 million.
9
people.
million people. Okay. 9 million people in 110 miles. I get that. But now, like, when
Well,
they break it up into sections, you're
Yeah,
only
talk
going to
about-
see your certain amount. What?
so you have to talk about miles squared. It's not just
I will.
110 miles, because it's 110 times 200 meters wide. So I think it's like, I forget what it is squared, but it's a lot. It's a lot.
Okay. So I'll do the math in a second. But I'm thinking if it's 110 miles wide, right? And you break that up into segments, let's call it communities. For the sake of the conversation, it's the length of the alphabet, right? You get a bunch of people who are living in ABC. Then you get a bunch of other people who are living in HIJ. And then down the road, you got QRS. Down there, you got WXY and then Z. The people who are in like L to Q, they'll never see each other because they're so far apart, walking distance. And yeah, you said you could take the train from one side to the other. So I get it.
Well,
You could travel and stuff
Whatever their
throughout.
transportation is. Yeah, it's not a train, but yeah.
Right. Or whichever. It's a shuttle or some type of monorail. But besides that, you're like, I don't want to say you're stuck, but you're like with those people around you. So you're going to work there, you're going to live there, and you're going to play there. Now, who's to say if someone doesn't come up with a business idea that they need a building for their stuff? It's kind of limiting as far as like people opening their own businesses. If you're not going to build new infrastructures, what are you going to do? You're going to rent out an old one, or like,
Well, I guess in the long run, because if more people are having babies inside of that wall, like 9 million people are living there, let's say the first 20 years, but out of those 9 million people, 7 million of them have children and only 1 million of them die from old age or from sickness or from whatever, especially if it's going to be a healthier living and they're caring about healthcare. yeah, you're going to start to get too many people in there that now when some of these kids that are born grow up and want to open their own businesses, that like I was going to say, yeah, somebody closes a business, someone can open a business
But
that's
now
available.
who,
But yeah,
right,
if
but who's
something's
gonna
not
determine
available,
who's already working in there? You're not
and
just
if
gonna have big
something
corporate places. You're gonna
and if
have
something's not available, or everything is full and you do have an idea exactly what is going to go on then. So I don't
this
know. I
is
mean,
it's
that is a
weird
tough
because
question.
it's kind of like creating a whole mini world inside of a world already.
So it's like
Because
the
we
Truman
know the
Show.
rules. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well,
It's like creating a bubble inside of the world because, like I said, what if they do lock it down?
do you think, all right, do you think COVID would have ever reached there if this was a real thing now?
Well, see, that's what I mean. If
Because you
COVID
can't come in and
happened,
out.
if COVID happened, it'd be easier to limit to where the people in that town couldn't get it or in that wall couldn't get it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I don't know, man. It's crazy to think about. And maybe that's why, like when they say, oh, it's healthcare first and stuff here, maybe that's why, because of things like that. That's, and I'm sure it's been in more production in the last couple of years.
It's
But
probably been starting. They're trying to figure out how to use the outside walls to absorb the energy from the sun to use that as electricity and power. Because they said it's going to be what do they say? Something about natural. I know they said there's going to be no carbon emission, but they said they're going to use a lot of natural
100%
energy.
renewable energy.
There we go.
And then it
So they're
says
going to be doing
95% of the
windmills.
land will be preserved for nature.
Yeah.
So,
So
but
they're
that
gonna have a
means
lot of
that's
stuff.
because all of the land that's on the outside of the wall is all going to be fresh land. So that's why, like I was saying, if it was in Manhattan, the rest of Manhattan would be all green. There'd be more oxygen. There'd be more. The rest of the land, the wall would only go through the center of Manhattan. So the rest of the land around it wouldn't need anything. So then, yeah, if you would need more infrastructure, you build in another wall next to this wall. But to go back to what you said now, take it like in Staten Island, right? Staten Island's a small island.
Staten Island.
Small island, but still a couple billion people live here. You live 20 minutes away from me by drive, right? Way
Mhm.
too long to walk. We see each other regularly all the time. Now, even if there's no cars in this place, but there is transportation, like we didn't always drive. I took the train back in the day when I was younger and stuff like that, whatever. Like if you want to see someone, you're going to go to see them regardless. So to me,
Mhm.
I don't think that's really the case. Like, I don't think that if someone's like, 2, 3 letter neighborhoods away from you, that like you're not going to see them. Especially if they're having easy travel to get from one side of the wall to the other. They say you can go from one side of the wall to the other in 20 minutes, 110 miles. That's really awesome. So I don't think that'll be a problem like that. I do agree with you though on the problem of space at some point. Like let's say it does open, it starts in 2030. Let's say it opens by 2070, right? It's 40 years. By the year 3000, they're going to have space issues.
The year 3000. You're talking like
Oh, I mean, I'm sorry. I meant
2100.
20. No, we're in, 2100. Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay. I
Been
was
100
like,
years, not 1,000 years. But no, so like, yeah, so like 30 years after it would like open, so it opens 2070. Okay, so 2100 now, they're gonna have problems of spacing issues and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
overpopulation, things like that.
Absolutely. We have that problem now. That's always gonna be a problem. I don't think that's a problem that goes away, especially just because people like to fuck.
People like to fuck.
Like, think about it. Most people are, or not most people, but let's say out of everyone in the world, let's just say 40% of the people are trying to have kids. 20% are not, but still having sex and accidentally having kids.
Oops.
You know what I'm saying? You're talking about at least 60% of the world. It's more than half. It's always more than half. It's always more to where, and obviously those numbers are made up. I'm not saying it's off a real statistic, but like,
Yeah.
to me, it's just always more than half to where we're always getting more children overall as the whole world, not necessarily just by country or continent, but like, because obviously like Japan had that shit where like you couldn't have more than 2 kids for the longest time. But now
I think it was something like if your firstborn is a girl,
you can have one.
You could try again.
Yeah,
for a
because it was
boy.
to carry on the bloodline or something like
Right.
that, the name. But that's what I'm saying. Like, so even like they had stuff like that to limit. So population has always been a problem. I don't think that's something that's just going away.
I'll agree with you. So my next question is, do you think there's going to be futuristic technology already built into it as far as like
Yeah, like
a
facial
touch
recognition.
screen?
Yeah, like
Well, I was gonna say like holograms or touchscreen things. So now,
yeah.
based on that, you think
I
there's
bet
gonna be
you
a
all
whole
locks will be like
plethora of
fingerprint.
cameras and shit like that?
I'm sure
Like
there'll be very well
surveillance?
surveillance, absolutely, especially just for crime and stuff like that. I'm sure there'll be a lot of surveillance. Like even now, so like you know how now you can go in the airport and there's like those certain stores where like you could pick up all the merchandise, and then like when you go to walk out, there's just a register. There's no one
Yeah.
walking there, working there, and then you just pay for your stuff. But the store knows everything you picked up because there's that many cameras in the store and sensors and stuff. Blah, blah, blah. I'm sure there'll be things like that, especially in stores and stuff out there. Like you might not need people in the stores out there. Like maybe if they're focusing so much on people's health and well-being, maybe you're not going to have to pay for groceries and stuff like that. Or, so you just gonna go in a store, pick up your stuff and then walk out, or it's like a flat rate, or it's a whatever it's going to be. If they're trying to change the way that we do things, like
Which
think
is
about it,
interesting.
we're
that
the
you-
only, like, it's crazy that as humans, we have to pay to be born, pay to die, pay to eat, pay to just live. Like so if they're trying to change that sense of it,
you
like,
get taxed when you receive money, and you get taxed when you use money.
yeah, like no matter what, you're always paying for something else's the well-being of the world, or whatever you want to call it. And if this is trying to change that, then yeah, maybe it's something to where like you're not gonna have to pay for things like that. And
So here's
I don't
my
know.
here's my perspective on that, because I think that there's a lot of technology right now being used in either Hong Kong or fucking Tokyo, where they just use their thumbprint and it scans and it has like a digital wallet. I
Mhm.
think in a place like this, it's just going to be like there's going to be no currency, no physical currency. They use the
Well, yeah, it could
dinar,
even be like a
and
trade.
dinar is really expensive compared to like America. I'll find out right now actually, but I think before I make a fool of myself, let me look it up.
Oh, I suggest the trade thing, and I'll say this while you're looking that up. I suggest the trade thing because I'm very big believer on that. I am so big believer of going back to the old school type of trade. If you have a skill and you could trade it for other things that you need to survive, and we can get away from the sense of money or the value of a dollar in a sense. The only reason that we have money is because certain people have some skills. We're like scientists. It's not like people that are going to make things that are so amazing for the future that like you're not going to trade your skill for things like that. It's just sometimes when your skill is, a basic whatever harvesting, or it's not, oh yeah, I grow this type of food. You're not going to trade that for some high tech fucking, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So that's where money always comes into play for me, or value of like gold, diamonds, whatever. So, but to me, if you have people in here and everything is renewable and there are no cars or emissions, yeah, like why wouldn't it be relying on, okay, so the jobs that you're doing in here are to keep this place better. We're not paying in money, but everything is about supporting each other. All the
So
food is
that's
for
what I
everyone,
was
all this.
trying to get at before.
But then how do you stop crime? Because then somebody's just going to take too much food, or
there's
somebody's
not going to need to be any. There won't be any crime because
why? Because then who's to say that somebody's not taking too much food because they think they need more than the next person, or you know what I mean? At what point how does that take away structure?
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
So Saudi Arabia, they have the Iraqi dinar. 1 dinar is 0.00068 of a dollar. 10,000 dinars is $6.8.
So you can go to $6 and have 10,000 dinar.
Yes, I don't know like how much milk costs in Saudi Arabia, like how much dinar milk is, but what I was trying to get at is it might just be a digital thing. Whereas like if you're in there and everybody has their, let's call it a social security number, right? Everybody has a social security number. Whenever you go to buy something, whenever you get paid, whenever you got to pay something, you just either do your fingerprint, your eye scan, or some shit, and it just automatically takes it out of your bank. Now that can be good and bad, because if it's good because it
I'm sorry, can I just pause you real quick?
Can I just finish my sentence?
All right, go ahead. I know what it is. I know how much it is. That's all.
How much what is?
So in US dollars in Saudi Arabia, it would be the exchange rate would be $1.10 US.
What do you mean?
So you said $6 is like 10,000 dinar.
Right.
So it would be $1.10 for a gallon of milk in Saudi Arabia. So
$1.10 American.
So it would be like 3,000 dinar.
Okay.
So it is cheaper than out here. There's why.
Well, no, I
because
think
like a gallon
does
of
that
milk out
mean-
here is like almost
Now I'm
$5.
confused because now does that mean that dinar is
A dinar is
What's-
cheaper
what's
in value,
less?
but it's also cheaper to get milk out there. So right now it's harder for us to get milk where we are in New York because there's not as many farms out here. There's
Yeah,
probably a lot
cows.
more farms out there in Saudi Arabia, so it's cheaper and easier to get milk. they also probably have less population than the city where we're in, where it's harder demand. So
Mm.
for them though, like for us, a gallon of milk is like $4.50. For them, it's like $1.10. So regardless of exchange rate of like to dinar to US, if you were out there right now, it would cost you $1.10 US for a gallon of
Interesting.
milk, which would be like 3,000 dinar. So like if you went out there with like, I don't know, $100 American, you'd have like, what was it, like 100,000 dinar or whatever. 3,000 of it would be for milk. So yeah, you'd still be coming out on top, like in the sense of exchange rate, like you would be able to live pretty well there if with American money.
Interesting. So what I was saying before is that I think that not having a currency, a physical currency, can be beneficial and negative, because if
Yeah.
you're only using your fingerprint or your ID number, social security, whatever, it's so much easier to just grab a go, pay, comes out of your bank account, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, let's say you don't pay your bills or something. Right now, it goes into collections. They'll just take that shit right out of your bank account. They'll
Mhm.
know you have it, and you're not going to sit there and like, oh, I got to pay bills. It's just, nope, we need our money. Give it to us. And they take it out. So it's kind of weird because it's a really cool concept.
Mhm.
And I like that they're trying to stack buildings upwards. But also it's like this huge community that's separate from where we are now on Earth. And everything's going to be, like you said, based on human progression instead of or would you say human or technological progression, something like that. I'm not sure what you said, but on the flip side of it, it's kind of like you're trapped, not that you can or can't leave, but you can't really, you don't have, where you gonna go? You're gonna walk in the desert to the next country? That's just crazy. I feel like it's definitely a revolution, and I'm curious if they're gonna have swimming pools in there. That'd be really cool though, because
Yeah, they're definitely gonna have pools. I mean, I saw a bunch of different like as it was like the video going through. I mean, obviously it's still a model, like a 3D rendering or
right.
whatever. But yeah, no, I did see water and like or at least would look like pools and stuff.
That's pretty cool. So here's a question for you.
Hmm.
Would you move into a line if that is something that happens here? Let's say that wasn't happening in Saudi Arabia. Let's say it was happening here in New York. Or let's say it was in like Vermont or something like that, where it's not New York, but it's still close by. Would you think that you and your family would move to this line?
Nah.
You'd stay where you
I
are
wouldn't
now?
want to be the guinea pig though. That's why. Like I wouldn't want to be one of the first people to go.
I feel
Especially
like it
because,
would
like
be
I
really
said,
cool.
it would be cool. But what if it was like I said, like a lockdown thing, or like think about the conspiracy side. You know what I mean?
I always think about the conspiracy side.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You don't think that you would have anxiety moving there then?
I would have anxiety moving there, yeah. But I mean, now this would be where I want to get myself into I literally just told myself what I said I would have put myself in a bubble to separate myself from the rest of the world, because I'm one of those people who are like, oh my God, I'm not like everybody sucks, but it's like, where's the common sense in everybody? And the common sense is not so common, and it just drives me crazy having to deal with this shit all the time. So if you took me and like a million people, I mean, I don't even fucking see a million people a day though. So I don't know. You're not even gonna meet half the people that you live in this line with.
True.
Anyways, I'd go.
I mean,
I don't know about you.
I got 50,000 followers, so I mean, I know some people.
You don't know any of
I
them.
know. I'm kidding. No, I know. I don't know. I don't think I would do it. I don't think I would move there, but I do think it's a cool concept. I do think that if it's done efficiently and all that stuff, I think it can be great for mankind in the long run, for our children and our children's children. If it ends up changing cities and how we live and whatever, I'm all for it, but I just don't want to be the guinea pig. I'm comfortable with the way we live. I don't want to change the way I live. I'd rather finish out my life like this. And if that's how the next generation of life is going to go or whatever, cool, awesome. I hope it's like the best, but I'm comfortable in my life. Most people don't like change. So like, that's the one thing where I'd say, yeah, I don't want to change. I want to keep trying to
also
thrive
don't
in my
like
life the way
change.
it is.
However, I feel like now I've lived, I say maybe like a third of my life here. I enjoy it very much. But if I had the opportunity to go, I like to see what the rest of my life could be in this little thing. It's weird because I'm the type of person who's like, no, I need to get as far off the grid as possible. But like, this is kind of off the grid, but together type of thing. It's a
Yeah.
commune, so everyone's going to be pitching in, doing their own stuff. You'll have natural water.
Mhm.
You'll have a lot of fresh food that's
I'll say
being
it's
grown
actually
there.
the opposite of being off the grid. It's like as on the grid as you can go.
Yes,
but I get
but
what
at
you're
the same
saying.
time,
With
you're
being
like you're
off
your
of
own
this
community,
grid,
right?
going into that grid. I get what you're saying.
Bro, I don't watch the news, so I have no idea what's going on. I mean, I have an idea because I have other sources, but like, if you don't know what's going on outside the world, it can't really affect you unless there's like a biochemical warfare or nuclear war or something that doesn't involve you. It's two separate countries doing their own thing, and you're just in the line chilling. Like,
Mm.
it's gonna be mad clean air, nature everywhere. They're gonna have fresh fruit. I'm just saying it's kind of like a mini paradise, and I like to check it out. It's like a Garden of Eden type of thing, so they say.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess let's look out for it. 2030 is starting the construction.
Yeah, dude.
I'm gonna get my ticket now. So you go to Mars.
I would definitely
and
visit
I'll-
it. See?
You go to
Yeah, no,
Mars.
I would definitely try to go to Mars first, but I would visit it. Like if it was like a vacation thing to check it out and see it, like I would do something like that. So yeah, if you're gonna get a ticket for something like that, count me
Alright.
in.
Well, that's it. It's called The Line, right?
Yep.
The Line,
In Saudi
and
Arabia.
it's in Saudi Arabia. All right, let's look out for that. 2030. Dope shit. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, bro.
All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed it.
But
Thank you all for the likes, listens, shares, and follows. We appreciate our listeners. Thank you.
follow us on YouTube.